It's one thing to rage bait for views, but Jack Doerty has done much worse and has gone unpunished. From allegedly getting teenage girls into doing OF to allegedly abusing his girlfriend, Jack only cares about one thing: his content, regardless of how many people he has to throw under the bus, or the golf cart, or the $300,000 McLaren. No! If you're lucky enough to be completely outside of the online clout sphere and not really know who he is, Jack Doerty has been a prominent figure since he was just 12 years old, starting out his career innocently enough by doing bottle flips in 2016, which got him 30 million views. Now, if that sounds like an unreasonable amount of online fame for a kid as young as Jack, then you are absolutely right, because time proved that he wasn't really able to handle it in a healthy way.
Wasn't always famous, now I deal with freaking bullies.
Eventually, his content progressed to light pranks involving other prominent creators, like, for example, showing up uninvited to the FaZe house.
I want them to come out so freaking badly.
Obviously, it's not okay to show up unannounced to someone else's private property. As history has shown, there can be a lot of negative consequences of that. But what's really bad about this is it's not like Jack lived next door and just walked right over. Instead, his mom actually drove him to the FaZe house, fully knowing that what they were doing was really strange. This gives you an inkling as to why Jack grew to be so shameless and degenerate. He was heavily enabled by his parents, but when the guys in the FaZe house refused to engage with his little prank, Jack moved on to going after the Paul brothers.
Logan!
It was at that time period when the Ball brothers, but mostly and primarily Jake, were becoming self-aware of how hated they were and were starting to play into it on purpose, with a lot of success.
I wouldn't crawl up there.
While both of the basketball brothers eventually just stepped aside from that kind of stuff for a variety of reasons, Jack decided to go in that same direction, starting small, with things like being obnoxious at random stores until he got kicked out, and then slowly graduating to harassing innocent employees and then falsely accusing them of beating him.
I was just assaulted by a Walmart worker.
Unfortunately, despite how egregious his behavior was, his parents allowed him to keep doing it. And not only was he getting millions of views, but if his word is to be trusted, he was making $40,000 a month as a kid. At just 15 years old, he bought a house, and as he was being rewarded for pulling these stunts, he doubled down, going as far as to get arrested for content. It is worth noting that all he was arrested for was pretending to be drunk and annoying police officers, but still, to do it on purpose for the sake of content signals a very unhealthy mentality, especially with how young he was. His parents acted concerned, but really, they just didn't want their son to stop raking in the ad revenue, even if it meant he was almost failing high school due to how much time he devoted to his online career, which eventually got him expelled.
Please make sure you are subscribed with post notifications on and set to all, because you're about to see a lot more of me after what happened.
At this point, Jack had completely embraced his format of just being an unlikable, professional public nuisance, rage baiting people by the millions. During his appearance on Dr. Phil, he expressed that he had the intention of stopping all of this stuff once he turned 18, because, as he puts it, his more legally questionable antics could land him in jail if he wasn't so clearly some stupid kid. This plan was going pretty well, and due to all the money coming in, he would have been able to completely retire carefree by the time he became an adult. But like a lot of people before him, at some point, it was no longer about the money. Despite hedging his entire existence on profiting off of his content above everything else, Jack had gotten addicted to the attention, both online and in real life. He genuinely enjoyed being a disturbance, getting on people's nerves. And even though his content took a serious dip in views by the time he was turning 18, he never really made any attempt to change it up or to try something else. He already had all of the money, the properties, and otherwise expensive bling that he could ever need, but it just wasn't enough. In 2023, when he was around 20 years old, he shifted over from YouTube to the streaming platform Kick. Even if he kept posting to YouTube occasionally, his focus was now on IRL streaming, where he doubled down on his business strategy of being a public terrorist for sport.
We got out of there, motherfucker! Let's go!
Watch your language, there's kids around here.
I didn't say any curse words. What'd I say?
Just watch your language.
What'd I say?
10 seconds later.
His new development to his usual gimmick is that whenever he bothered people, he had this enormous security guard step in and get in the face of whoever was mad at him, which is obviously a very unfair and annoying situation. For most prank channels on YouTube, the situations of conflict which arise from their pranks are set up beforehand and not even real. But for Jack's so-called pranks, that was not the case. In one instance, it ended in very real violence.
I'm just saying, y'all say you just walk. Then walk.
It's one thing to be a public nuisance and put yourself at risk for content. Regardless of how stupid and not worth it that may be, at least you're only really making yourself look like an ass. Look, I used to watch Filthy Frank, okay? I get it. Some of these guys are funny, but Jack is not funny. And when you cross the line and essentially have your henchman beat up on a guy significantly smaller, that's not a prank, that's just assault. Once Jack got sued for his role in this interaction, he argued that the insurance company State Farm should be the one to foot the bill just because he pays for their service. Now, I'm no expert here, but I don't think there's an insurance company in the world that wants to cover you for committing crimes.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
I'm in tremendous pain. I'm in tremendous pain. Help me, help me.
This was just one of the many stepping stones in Jack's gradual descent into being a complete content demon. Back in the 2010s, one common thing among the degenerate pranksters of that era was involving sexual themes to make your content racier and more attractive to the preteens who were watching. But now, this is the 2020s, and you don't need to play some kind of clickbait game on regular mainstream platforms like YouTube. Instead, it's become normal to outright promote pornography thanks to OnlyFans. And that's exactly what Jack started doing. At the same time that his streaming career was doing decently well, he was also posting YouTube shorts with these OnlyFans girls he managed. And of course, in the description, Jack would promote their OnlyFans. What's even weirder is, once again, you can see that Jack's parents, specifically his mom, actively take part in these videos. I can't imagine she's completely ignorant as to what her son is up to at this point. So in a nutshell, this woman is 100% complicit in her son using her to promote adult content. But much like his pranks, if you can even call them that, Jack's business as an OF promoter and manager didn't take long to get significantly more insidious. In 2023, one girl named Natalie Reynolds made a few tweets where she said this: Jack's ex-girlfriend knows about him grooming girls. The girl she is talking about is the 17-year-old he met with intentions of using her because it would attract older men. Even worse, he took 100% of her revenue and gives her $3,000 a month. This girl was 17, and Jack waited months for her birthday to get her drunk and sign a contract on a yacht. But it's also worth saying that Natalie is a bit of a clout demon herself. I don't really see her as the most sane or trustworthy person.
You should just jump in right now.
I'm gonna jump in with my shoes on.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, ready?
I can't swim. I can only float.
Oh, she might literally die.
Dude, she's drowning in the lake.
And given that all she has here is her word, we can't just take it at face value. But eventually, someone else joined in. A streamer named Norway, who made a series of claims that corroborated what Natalie said.
Jack said she was actually 17, but don't tell anybody. Jack, I'm gonna tell people she was 17, Jack. Sophie girl. Oh, not Sophie, Sophia. Sophia's little sister was 17. 4 days later, Jack, Ace invited the 17-year-old and her friends over to the house. And I also have messages of Sophie messaging me, Daddy, please forgive me, or Daddy, please come over, or something. The girls were begging me to come over to the other house while I'm in the guest house next door. But I didn't want to come over because you're a 17-year-old, and Jack, I messaged you, I told you to kick them out, and then you didn't do shit about it because you're in Dubai.
As far as crossing lines go, engaging in anything of that sort with girls who aren't of age is just about the worst line you possibly can cross. But still, even with this corroboration, this wasn't anything more than allegations from people who weren't formally suing Jack for anything. And the girl or girls that he allegedly groomed didn't come forward to make some kind of public statement, and they also didn't go to the police about it as far as we know. Regardless, this, at the time, minor controversy would really set the tone for Jack's 2024, and things only went rapidly downhill from there. One sign that things weren't about to get any better for Jack is that in June 2024, he got into a fight with Neon, another streamer who I already made a video about. Now, the fight itself is pathetic enough just looking into it, as they first hug each other a little bit in the audience, they separate for a few minutes as Jack retreats, and then when Neon is leaving, Jack returns and tries to run up and sucker punch him from behind. This didn't really work, and Jack then proceeds to grab a hold of Neon's shirt and rip it, bit, I guess to signal that he's somehow won this exchange. At that point, both of their bodyguards step in and threaten each other for a bit until everybody walks away, as not a single punch any of them threw actually connected with their targets. The casualties of the Doherty Neon War were exclusively Neon's t-shirt and the brain cells of anyone who paid attention to this clown show. All in all, despite Neon not being a very good person, in this scenario, he definitely came out looking like the lesser evil. Unlike Jack, he actually confronted him straight on and didn't run away, settling for a missed sucker punch and a ripped shirt. However, neither of them were really justified, because the reason the fight was happening in the first place was because Jack made suggestive comments about Neon's girlfriend, who herself had an OnlyFans. Not exactly a Helen of Troy type situation, if I may say so myself. But what matters here is the overall theme. Jack wasn't even managing to get along with people who were in the same degenerate realm as he was. As annoying as Neon can be, ultimately, at least he tries to keep some separation between who he actually is and the obnoxious stuff he does for money. Jack, on the other hand, is basically willing to do anything as long as the numbers look good, which explains why Neon has now developed an actual fan base from IRL streaming and grown beyond just being annoying, while Jack just got arrested.
I mean, that's all, like, people always say, like you always go viral for like negative things, but it's like, what positive things really go viral these days? Like nothing. Yeah. So it's like, if you really want to make it, it's like, you're not going viral for positive things. Like no one's going to care. They're just going to scroll.
Creators who believe that the only way to get attention is to get negative attention are living on borrowed time. The only thing Jack didn't know was that besides his career, his carelessness would put his life in danger as well. In October of 2024, he streamed himself visibly texting on his phone while driving on a foggy, wet road when the most obvious thing that you could possibly predict happened.
Oh! Oh! No! No! No!
Holy shit. Holy Michael. Are you okay? Holy
Jack easily could have killed himself, his cameraman who was injured in the crash, and anyone else who was driving on the road that day. Again, it's one thing to put yourself in harm's way, but who knows how many people Jack could have taken the lives of by doing this. Fortunately, no one lost their life, but this was an act of potentially fatal negligence from Jack. From what we can tell, he didn't suffer any significant legal repercussions, but Kick did ban him from the platform for endangering a life while driving on stream. This event was such huge news that even Jack's own brother came out to voice his support for Jack's ban, saying that he needed to learn his lesson and understand that he's not invincible. Due to how many bridges he had already burned with people who had given him chances before, Jack was now out to see if he could find new people to help him revive his career by any means necessary. One of his attempts was Kai Cenat. Jack decided to gift him 300 subs on stream and suggest a collaboration, only for Kai to shoot it down, saying he would never work with Jack and that he'd been doing nothing but bad things all year.
I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna live with Jack. We just finessed him out of 300 chat.
Ching, chang, chong, I'm Kim Jong-un, got a mushroom crowd for you.
I believe that's what the kids call a W moment. As satisfactory as it is to see Jack get permanently shut out of the normal content world, the bad side of this is that due to no longer being concerned with maintaining a relatively sane and normie audience, he would start stooping even lower. Once Jack had heaps of money and time and no obvious punishment for his misdeeds, the feeling of invincibility that his brother referred to here definitely started to show. Everyone already saw him as an evil person anyway. How could it get any worse? Well, actually, it can get a lot worse. In November 2024, the same month that Kai Cenat shot him down, Jack and his girlfriend got a symbolic Las Vegas marriage, making a whole video out of it and everything. In a moment that was supposed to be wholesome and definitely seemed kind of important for his girlfriend, McKinley, Jack pulled out a mock prenup agreement, which he read out loud as follows. So, Shorty gets absolutely nothing when I divorce her, even if I cheat. If she cheats, she automatically owes me $10 million. I'll also receive 100% of her OF revenue moving forward, even if we divorce. It's hard to say why they even got symbolically married in the first place other than for views, especially given that in this little prenup, he just refers to their separation as when it'll happen, as if it's inevitable, probably because he knows it is. But for the time being, no one really knew what was going on behind the scenes between them, as the only stuff the audience was privy to is what Jack was choosing to show them. In January of 2025, Jack got unbanned on Kick, which basically confirmed that he suffered no punishment for causing a car crash that could have killed people. When stuff like this happens, it makes people like Jack feel like they can do whatever they want and go unpunished, because, well, basically they can. Within months of being unbanned, he got into another crash, this time slamming his boat into a parked yacht. Although his boat was slowly moving towards a bigger boat and it caused almost no damage, in all of his brilliance, Jack thought that the wisest thing to do was to place his own body between both boats as they came into contact.
Jack, actually, no, oh!
This guy almost turned his foot into silly putty with no issue. Fortunately for him, that didn't happen. But what's interesting is he's on a boat with a bunch of girls, and to my knowledge, none of them are his girlfriend. But it turns out that behind the scenes, things were not going very well between Jack and his girlfriend McKinley. And a month later, they broke up. Right around the time it happened, Jack immediately talked about it, but he was very vague, saying that his constant live streaming and busy schedule was a big factor that led up to their split. However, in an interview she gave that same month that had no relation to Jack in specific, McKinley randomly said this in regards to why she got into OF in the first place.
Vouch for it. I did not want to do it at all. But we weren't dating, we were just talking, and he said the only way we can date is if you're in this with me, and we created a business. So I was like, okay, I'm done looking back on it. To be honest, I don't know why I thought that was healthy, but I did it because people around me also said, this is going to be a really good thing for you. Like, this is a good decision. Like, I was crying in tears about it. I didn't tell my parents.
This clip obviously plays into the narrative that Jack was pressuring or encouraging girls to do OnlyFans, although we can immediately throw out the idea that he groomed her because they're the same age. And at other moments during this interview, McKinley also seems to feel positively about Jack, grateful for how he helped her career. Based on the way she spoke about him, it seemed like she was a bit confused as to how she ultimately felt about their relationship. For the next 3 months, nothing else came out about it, until McKinley revisited the topic in 2 extremely long videos of an interview she did with her friend Camilla, titled The Truth of Jack Doerty. Over the past half a decade or so, people already had a terrible opinion of Jack due to everything he got up to online. But this was a watershed moment that gave people a much more solid reason to consider him someone who's not just annoying and clout hungry, but actually deeply malicious. But before I go any further, I do have to say that none of this has been proven in a court of law, and ultimately, only some of what McKinley says has direct proof. As a result, there's pieces of this story that you should consider as claims rather than hard facts. McKinley begins by remarking that before she met Jack, she knew Sam Frank, the girlfriend of Neon who Jack had made fun of and they got in a fight over. Sam was the person who introduced McKinley to Jack, and this was before all of the stuff with Neon happened, so they were all on good terms. But I should say that introduced her to Jack isn't exactly the right way to describe it. More so, Sam introduced her to the greater sphere of people that surrounded Jack at that time. And although Jack himself was mostly quiet and mild-mannered at this point, there were already some red flags. McKinley notes that from ages 16 to 20, she was already being hounded by a number of people who wanted her to do adult content. And once she made it into Jack's extended social circle, she was immediately met by his lawyers, who did the same thing. You see, like we've mentioned prior, Jack is not a one-off person. He's part of a greater structure, a business model that operates on chewing up these Instagram girls in places like LA or Miami and spitting them out. At this point, McKinley apparently wasn't aware that Jack's real business was managing and promoting OF girls, and these unspecified lawyers apparently didn't mention it, so McKinley didn't really think much of it and turned it down. After this pretty odd incident, things were sailing smoothly, until McKinley stayed over at Jack's place for a night along with other people, which apparently is normal with these kinds of content house arrangements. They just have sleepovers. What isn't normal, at least I hope it's not, is that one of the people there, described as a hometown friend of Jack's, allegedly sexually assaulted McKinley. I won't go into the details here since it gets pretty bad, but we're not talking about a misunderstanding or a slight break of boundaries. We're talking about this chick being asleep and then this guy just attacking her, only stopping when Jack intervened. And because of this, Jack and McKinley grew closer. But as soon as the idea of a relationship began to manifest, Jack began deliberately doing things to make her jealous. They weren't fully dating yet, but whatever sadistic urge Jack has to make other people uncomfortable led him to doing things like banging another girl and telling McKinley's friends that he simply confused her for McKinley, or deliberately getting caught in bed with another girl as a prank on McKinley. It's not worth it to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but just keep this in mind, as this was a regular occurrence throughout the years they were together, to varying degrees of intensity. And this was just the first of the issues, as over time, she claims that Jack Jack went from hardly recording any content to constantly being on the grind. And in order to be physically and mentally able to do that, he was abusing substances. While he used to take Adderall because it was prescribed to him, he began really overdoing it, popping multiple at a time and mixing it with alcohol. A practice that he apparently began to share with everyone in his social circle, including McKinley, with the reason being so that they could keep up with him on his streams. Additionally, after McKinley started living in the same house as Jack, she became the, quote, designated blunt roller. So along with Adderall and alcohol, he regularly smoked weed as well. Altogether, this combination apparently allowed Jack to stream up to 36 hours at a time at his peak, something that will definitely drive you insane. But drugs weren't the only thing Jack pushed onto everyone in his social circle. During a dinner that McKinley attended with some of Jack's acquaintances, an older man whom she had never met before opened a conversation with her by asking why she didn't do OnlyFans. When McKinley responded that she felt it went against her and her family's beliefs, this man responded with, "Fuck your morals." After the dinner, McKinley asked Jack that he never put her in a position like that again, only for Jack himself to give her an ultimatum. Either she would start doing OnlyFans and officially become his partner, or she needed to leave. She claims that this ultimatum was followed by a contract, which Jack pressured her into signing without talking to her parents or lawyers beforehand. Now, I do want to take a moment here to say that McKinley is not necessarily a totally helpless victim in this situation. It's not like she was a child and Jack was an adult, they're the same age, and ultimately her decision to make an OF was her choice. With that being said, two things can be true at once. On one hand, she may have made an extremely dumb decision by befriending and dating one of the most obviously retarded people on YouTube of all time.
How you feel about me hooking up with your brother?
But at the same time, Jack is still Jack. And just because he's shameless about the fact that he's not a very good guy doesn't mean he shouldn't be criticized for his actions. Going back to the story, McKinley says that when and only when she signed this form did Jack start acknowledging her as his girlfriend. But he refused to formally ask her to be his girlfriend because, in his words, that would be gay. True! So true. Now, once the contract was signed, Jack began treating McKinley more and more like the rest of the girls he features in his content, punching bags for both him and whoever else were on his streams to disparage, and then when they get upset, just say that they're kidding.
No, I'm kidding. I'll bend over. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm kidding, bro. You're so hot. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. I was joking. That was such a fucking joke. Come on. I never know when to stop.
McKinley claims that within the confines of the relationship, it was extremely difficult to not be on Jack's streams, with the reason being that he would get paranoid about what she was up to if she was by herself. And due to the constant content grinding and the Adderall use, McKinley claims that her weight dropped to 104 pounds, which is extremely unhealthy. But eventually, all of this also wasn't enough for Jack, so he upped his game by flipping a golf cart on her for the purpose of a clip. And this part in specific is not a claim, we actually know that it happened. As you can see, not only did the cart flip over directly on her, but Jack's entire body also came down on top of her.
Just wanted to try if I should cry. It's not, now she's saying I did it on purpose after we broke up. It's like insane. Like I would never flip a golf cart on a girl on purpose. Like that's insane. Wanted to try if I should cry.
Not that he weighs too much himself, but you get what I'm saying. Based on her description of how it went down, she put her head down to avoid hitting it, which resulted in landing on her neck and having to go to the hospital, being injured so badly that she wasn't able to walk properly for a week. She also claims that she had to take an Uber to the hospital by herself because Jack wanted to go on a yacht with Antonio Brown and continue his stream. And when McKinley finally came back, Jack gave her a golf cart as a gag gift. Now, while some of what McKinley has claimed so far is unproven, it is worth noting that Jack himself has said he wants to take a step back from streaming because it was making him insane.
So it's like, yeah, I definitely saw myself going crazy and I was like aware of it. I was like, I gotta like stop streaming like soon. Like I don't know how much longer that I can do it for. Like that was like about a year ago. I was like, dang, like this is definitely taking a toll on like me, everyone around me. And like, cause I just feel like not everyone's able to keep up with like how I like wanted to go. Like I would go 10, 12 hours a day.
And it seems like his anything for views mentality is coming back to bite him. At one point, Jack took McKinley, along with a bunch of other people, to a thing called a takeover. If you don't know what a takeover is, it's when a bunch of people get together at midnight in a wide open space and drift cars. Sometimes these cars are stolen, and so naturally the event is often attended by criminals. It's common to hear gunshots, see people walking around in masks, and other family-friendly friendly things of that sort. Whenever the police show up and disband one of these events, they'll often just regroup elsewhere and start doing it again. Now, for the first 2 gatherings of the takeover that Jack went to, McKinley followed along, but whenever people saw her, they started staring and yelling at her that she didn't belong there and had to leave. Eventually, this made her uncomfortable, so when Jack went to the 3rd regrouping of the takeover, McKinley decided to stay in the big party van they all came in. Now, as we went over earlier, Jack is known for having security guards with him to ensure his safety and to make sure that everyone around him is in constant danger.
Stop, tell him stop, tell him stop.
But for whatever reason, he left McKinley alone in the car with no security guards. Somewhat unsurprisingly, some guy eventually walked up to the van and opened it to steal things from inside. McKinley assumed it was Jack and his team, only to look up and see some guy in a surgical mask and rubber gloves sprinting at her. She says that she thought she was going to die that night, but fortunately the guy just took off with her wallet and nothing else happened. Eventually, a while later, Jack and his team did arrive, only to find McKinley in a state of complete and utter panic. But of course, they weren't about to shut off the stream because her being in despair made for great content in Jack's eyes.
What'd they do? What the fuck got robbed? Wait, what'd he do?
I don't know.
Wait, did he take your stuff?
I think.
What the fuck?
No, I said where's my baggies to get your fucking bag.
He took your purse?
I don't know.
McKinley, where?
Oh my God.
Where's the key? Where's the key? Okay.
During this moment, she begged him to stop recording, but he refused to, telling her that it would be worth it when there's tons of clips of that stream the next day. I don't know about you guys, but I personally would not want tens of thousands of clips of me in distress after I got robbed to be posted online. That doesn't really seem worth it. But once again, this is just the mentality that Jack and a lot of people like him have. Anything for views.
Tomorrow, though, you're gonna be so happy we recorded this. You know that.
Maybe record it, but going live again?
Because it gets clipped, you're gonna see it on TikTok.
It
does.
doesn't fucking matter.
I'm doing this
for once. Please, I'm asking, please.
If we record it, it makes it easier. Okay,
so
fuck.
annoying.
I'm gonna end the live. God damn it.
Swear to God.
Oh my God. I ended that stream because McKinley was like, obviously like super worked up about it, and she wanted me to end the stream. And then I ended the stream, and then I off camera convinced her to just record a clip, and then from recording the clip I turned on the stream and started again because I'm a fucking piece of shit. But
anytime someone is crying or is hurt or is suffering, well, that sucks, but ultimately it makes for great content, so let's just keep going. But the natural question becomes, when will it finally be enough? 1 month prior to this incident, a similar situation happened when McKinley got emotional and was crying on camera, and instead of doing something to try to make her feel better or just ignoring it, he had his cameraman zoom in on her chest to record the tear that had dropped on it.
Yo, look at how it's going. Her tears going right between her tits. Look at that. That was a hole in one. Is this one going to? Wait, let me aim it. Let me aim it. Oh, it's going down her tit too. 2 for 2. Oh, I'm so sorry, but I fucking love you. Come here, stop. You're so hot. Listen, there's nothing to cry about.
This is the level of streamer brain rot we are dealing with here. Now, if all or even some of McKinley's claims about her time with Jack are to be trusted, and they may be given that Jack hasn't cared to make any effort in disproving them, Jack was following the abuse textbook play-by-play, as his next step was separating McKinley from anyone who could be supportive to her, which primarily meant her parents, whom she wasn't allowed to go see on her own. After the wedding stunt I spoke about earlier, McKinley apparently wanted to get dinner with everyone else who had taken part in the ceremony. But Jack, who wasn't hungry because he was on Adderall, demanded that she go up to the hotel room instead to roll some blunts. When she objected, an argument took place, and Jack said that he would never marry her, and McKinley said it back to him, and blah blah blah. So far, this isn't really anything extreme, but when McKinley finally did go up to the hotel room, Jack apparently got very angry, and she claims physical.
I'm sitting on the bed, he walks back in, he's yelling at me again. But then he starts to calm down a little bit. Once he realizes I'm not really talking, and I was just kind of just sitting there, he was like, why aren't you talking? And I was like, there's no point, Jack. There's no point. And then that's when he started yelling again. He started yelling and yelling. So I shut up again. I was silent, and I don't know what was said. I can't really remember super well, but I remember him coming up to my face, sticking his finger in my face this close and saying, you fucking stupid fucking whore. And I looked at him and I was like, we're done. Like, I'm done. And I got up, I started walking, and that's when he put his hands on me. For the first time ever, it had escalated not only to emotional and mental abuse that he's put me through, he was grabbing onto me, not letting me leave the room. He grabbed me by my arms, he sat me down on the bed, made me sit on his lap. I was trying to get away from him. I was like, get away from me. Like, you just said this to me, and now you're saying, baby, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Now, her side of the story is that because she started screaming for Jack to get off of her, the hotel security decided to intervene because the neighbors complained about all the racket they could hear. For evidence of this, she provided the log of the hotel security report that made them show up. Once other people got there, he started focusing on fighting them instead of McKinley, only interacting with her to apologize, saying he had no idea what came over him, and basically blaming his actions on taking Adderall. McKinley left for the time being, only to be met with a barrage of text from Jack while she was away. You have my ID and my player's card. I need to get the money I just won. I love you and I'm sorry. Can you come back, please? I miss you and I'm sad. Can you let me know if you have my betting slip in your purse, please? Eventually, Jack managed to talk her into going back under the conditions that no such situation would ever happen again. But of course, it did happen again. A little while after she returned, the other people who were also living at the house at the time moved out, and Jack slowly but surely went back to running the same program on her. For example, McKinley wanted to buy a car for herself because she didn't want to rely on Jack for Ubering or transport. But according to Jack, it was a bad financial decision, and because she's a woman, she was gonna crash the car.
I was always advising her not to waste her money on cars. So I'm like, I already did all that, and it's like a waste of money, and you just lose his money or you crash it, and it's bad. And she's a woman, so don't even get me started.
True, and yeah, that's pretty true. That's true, and yeah, that's true. That's true.
When McKinley ignored his protests and went to the car dealership, she found out that Jack had moved all of the money in their shared account to his private account, which she had no access to. Fortunately, she did have other places to pull money from and got the car anyway, but it's important to note that the money was already what was left after Jack took his contractually guaranteed percentage. Perhaps as a punishment for the car situation, Jack began going by himself to nightclubs where he would go prowling for new OnlyFans signees. Her claim is that the way he phrased this was,
I'm gonna go get some bitches.
During one of these instances, McKinley went to dinner with a friend, which was met with accusations of her being drunk and cheating on him. While this in itself didn't lead to another crash out from Jack, it did set the stage for the next day, when McKinley failed to wake up at 8 a.m. Now apparently this 8 a.m. time was something that was very important to Jack, so when they both woke up at 10 instead of 8, this is what followed.
And he pushes me as hard as he can into the wall. And I caught myself in my arm, which I have a picture of the bruise from the day after. He pushes me and I caught myself, and he told me, he was like, oh, you flopped. He's like, stop flopping.
Now, McKinley does show a photo of the bruise that this incident left on her, but it's important to note that she never pressed any charges on him for domestic violence, so this is only alleged by her, and I'm gonna have to let you be the judge of whether it's true or not. Ultimately, it hasn't been proven in a court of law. Regardless of whether she, quote, flopped or not, this was particularly disturbing to McKinley, who knew that Jack had plenty of guns in the house, and according to her, he would often joke about using the guns to kill her and himself. Now, once the mentions of punching her in the face started happening, McKinley went from just being silent to once again saying she was done and calling her parents, who in turn recommended she go stay with one of her friends, Camilla, the one who was interviewing her here. Now, McKinley says that Jack had a habit of physically holding her to keep her from leaving, but when she noticed that he was on the phone with someone else in the backyard, she immediately packed her things and fled the house. Later, after she was already gone, Jack went live to talk about what had gone down, proceeding to make a series of threats.
What if she hooks up with another guy? Meanwhile, I will take the hundreds of thousands of dollars of that she has in my closet and her Maybach, and I will disintegrate that shit. I will put dynamite, and I will blow it all up, everything, and her. I will blow up everything. Her family doesn't even get a house. That shit. She ever even interact, even looks another guy in the eyes, cooked, wiped. I'm kidding, I'm joking, obviously, but like, I would cook her shit.
Now look, I'm not a guy who wants to ruin a good time, you know what I'm saying, okay? I don't want to make a big deal out of threats that seem outlandish, but remember, Daniel Larson got locked up in the slammer for threatening to blow up the White House, along with every police station in the world.
Bomb you! Bomb you!
Him being a deranged homeless person did not save him from jail. Meanwhile, Jack is seemingly mostly sane and absolutely capable of doing some of the things he's threatening to do. But after his stream was over, he started started realizing the seriousness of the situation. Or maybe he started coming down from the Adderall he was taking, and that was enough to prompt him to start spam texting apologies at McKinley. One of the first things he did during his barrage of texts was ask her to give him her location, which I'm guessing he was going to use to leverage more threats against her. The only time that Jack switches to being nice is when he wants to get something that he can weaponize against her. And when he doesn't get it, it looks like he goes on the offensive. This is what he told McKinley. I changed your OF password on both of your accounts, just so you know. If you don't answer, your OnlyFans account is going to get shut down. It's an emergency. Why are you ignoring me, McKinley? I'm so stressed out right now. I don't know what's happening, and you're ignoring me. Now, apparently at this point, McKinley rushed to change all of the passwords and emails to prevent Jack from permanently locking her out of her accounts. And this is how Jack responded. Wow. You're insane. I see what you're doing. This was probably your plan all along, you fake-ass bitch. Use me to get where you want, then dip. You screwed up big time. I'm throwing all your stuff away. Crazy-ass fake bitch. Insane! All this because I wanted you to wake up earlier. Ungrateful, greedy, lazy-ass bitch. I should have known better. I'm throwing your stuff outside right now. You're evil. I can't stop thinking about how much I've done for you these past 2 years and how quickly you just run off, change passwords, emails, everything. You're crazy. And you've obviously been planning this behind my back for a minute. Disgusting. I can't believe I let such a fake person into my life only to just screw me over and stab me in the back. It's sad and unbelievable. You lost my trust completely. What a waste of 2 years for me. But you got what you wanted, obviously. That's why you didn't want to put any of your money into the house, because you've been planning this all along. Again, if it wasn't clear enough, she only started changing the passwords and emails because Jack had started messing around with her accounts to force her to engage with him. When his plan backfired, it only made him even angrier, which is when he starts making threats again, this time without saying just kidding. Answer me or I'm gonna destroy your car next. I hate you so much. You're evil and you're a liar too. Everyone's shocked that you did that. No one's on your side for screwing me over, stupid. I can't believe the only girl I ever loved turned on me for money. Evil. I don't even know who you are anymore. Your stuff's outside. I'm done with you. Come get your car off my property before I seriously destroy it. You're trying to make me go insane and crash out. Now, McKinley claimed she wanted to go to the house to get her stuff, but given the way that Jack was talking, she didn't want to go there alone. So she called the cops beforehand and also went there with a friend. But interestingly, when she went to get her stuff, Jack had also been lying about it being outside. You see, if he had actually put all of it outside of the house, it would be easy for her to just get everything and leave. But that's not what he wanted. He wanted her to have to come inside the building. As soon as they arrived, he immediately tried to pull her aside to talk to her in whispers, basically trying to dissuade her from getting her stuff and leaving. But because she didn't comply, he started arguing with her and the cops.
Are you kidding me? How the f are you doing that? That's it, bro. That's all I did. I don't know. Yeah, but I did. I just wanted to talk to you. That's it. Then just talk to me. You wouldn't answer me, bro. Are you kidding me? Like, what? Alright.
McKinley, slow down so I can be with you.
You gotta get out of my house. I didn't say you can come in.
She's letting us in.
She doesn't own this house. I didn't say you can come in my house.
Her address
I
is
don't
on
care.
here. She's a resident here.
I don't care. You guys aren't allowed in my house.
We're not here to have a hard time.
You guys aren't allowed in my house.
She lives here.
Who gave you?
She did.
She doesn't own this house. Just because she lives doesn't mean she gave permission to.
Stop acting.
Bro, you called the cops on me in my own fucking house after I've done everything for you.
Because you threatened me, Jack.
I didn't threaten you, bro. Bro, how did I threaten you?
Do me a favor. Can you stay over there?
Fuck that. You're in my house. You're unreal, bro. You're in my house.
As you can see here, for some reason, this cop didn't do that much to intervene whenever Jack got up close and tried to intimidate this girl. The full body cam footage has been posted, but most of it is heavily blurred and has no audio. But according to her, multiple times during the half an hour or so that she was getting her stuff, he pushed her, got up close to her, held her against her will, took her phone from her, and all of this was in front of the cops who didn't do anything.
Called the cops on me to get all her stuff out. Insane.
Maybe they just saw that Jack was 5'4" and assumed he wasn't a major threat. I don't really know.
What a fake ass bitch, bro. You guys don't even realize, don't even know the full story. That bitch me the over, bro. After you guys have to realize how lucky any bitch is to be my girlfriend in general. It's like there's no other one-year-old trillionaire. No, I'm kidding. Not that that matters. It has nothing to do with money. It's like the fact that I can. No other bitch gets to live this life that she has. All she has to do is be grateful, positive, and appreciative. And that's all I ask of her. How does she expect her life to get better? Exactly. It's like there's no other guy in the world that's gonna treat her better than me.
Because we didn't fight for 2 years. Our biggest fights ever were in the past 2 weeks. It's like that's normal, and now she's crashing out, breaking up with me, calling the cops.
Despite how aggressive and confrontational he was while all of this was going down, the next day he was basically back to downplaying the entire thing. Simultaneously, after she had gotten her stuff and he couldn't use it as leverage against her by threatening to destroy everything, he went back to texting her a bunch of apologies and promises. When she finally decided to respond, explaining her reasoning for leaving the way she did, his reply was to complain that she didn't communicate better, basically placing the blame on her again. But that wasn't the end of it. Jack started begging to have a call with her, and when she picked up, he wasted no time in asking her for her new OnlyFans password. And of course, when she didn't provide it, he cycled right back into screaming. After the call ended, he went right back to begging, and this time also threatening to do something terrible to himself. And this much we know is true based on text messages. Now fortunately, he didn't actually do anything, but from that point onward, he mostly gave up trying to win her back, opting instead to find out who was helping her get resettled. When he found out that she was staying at Camilla's house, he promptly sent them a legal letter, essentially threatening to sue Camilla to the tune of $500,000 for stealing McKinley as a client. Now, in the description of her video, Camilla claims that after her lawyer responded to Jack's letter, Jack basically withdrew his suit without giving any reason, and nothing ever went to court. After this, the only thing that's happened was that Jack addressed McKinley indirectly through his streams by having his newer girlfriends or OF clients insult her, but fortunately it never escalated beyond this. The McKinley chapter of Jack's life was closed for good after October 2025. And if we're going by what Jack has said about it, she was the only thing holding him back and ruining his life. Naturally, now that she was gone, we can assume that all of the drama and hardship would just evaporate, right? Well, almost immediately after McKinley released all of this information, Jack tried to attend a party at Neon's house, only to find out that he had been banned. But all of the girls he had brought with him were not banned, prompting a moment that's honestly just sad to watch.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do anything to him, bro. He's scary. He's a baby. He's just a baby, you know?
Okay, I don't understand why us girls have to go though. Like, I want to hang out with people. I want to get clips. Like, bro. Like, yeah. Like,
there's one person streaming. It's Neon.
Like,
you guys are weird, fake ass hoes.
Says you, Jack. You pissed me off already today. I'm not staying with you to leave my best friend Claire.
Fine. No, you guys go have fun. Go have fun. All over the most beat party where the most famous person in there is Neon. They're literally crashing out. They're stabbing me in the back over Neon. That's crazy.
Resenting that he couldn't even manage to be Neon's peer, Jack stooped even lower. In November, he made the wise and sage-like decision to start hanging out with clowns like Wes Watson and the Island Boys, only for Wes to instantly get into an argument with one of his own crew members, which escalated into threats of violence, with his crew member pulling a knife out, all while Jack sits there on his phone. A true meeting of the minds here. Now, soon after this, in the exact same restaurant and exact same table, another altercation kicked off, because these people simply cannot help themselves. With this kind of company, it was inevitable for Jack to get into some trouble himself, and he definitely did. Within weeks of him being in Miami with the Whack Pack, Jack was arrested.
What? No. I'm going. I got him. Hey, yo. Chill.
Go to the sidewalk now. Go to the sidewalk now.
For some people, this came as no surprise at all, so much so that there were even people betting that Jack would be going to jail soon. Apparently, the police accosted him right outside of a smoke shop because he had been blocking traffic and being a public nuisance in general. When they told him to get off the road, he told them to wait for him to end his gambling session, and this prompted the cops to arrest and search him. It turns out that he was carrying weed and a pill that I'm guessing is Adderall, which he was apparently charged with illegal possession for, along with resisting arrest. But being arrested was completely ineffective, as Jack knew he would be out soon. But even while he was in jail, Jack's main concern was figuring out how much attention he was getting on the outside.
Cops were like telling me about TMZ just posted this, World Star just posted this, letting me know what's going on outside and stuff, because I didn't have my phone. But I was also talking to people on the phone the whole time, I don't know, trying to see what's going on and everything, because that's the only thing that I can do is just go on the phone. So I was just going on the phone the whole time.
He paid his own bond and was out in no time, turning his own arrest into more content and giving interviews about his brief stint in jail. Technically, he could see up to 7 years in prison, but let's be honest, that's not gonna happen. And frankly, he doesn't deserve 7 years in prison for this crime in particular, in my eyes. If you're someone who is preying on the downfall of Jack Doherty, I wouldn't expect something this small to be what takes him down. But if he continues down this path, it wouldn't surprise me if we see him go down the same same route as someone like Johnny Somali or all of the other freaks that make up the IP2 streaming scene. Honestly, with the kind of people he's linking up with at this point, it's only a matter of time. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
What do you like to watch in your free time? Yeah, turkey tom. Okay. Alright. Okay. Not the worst I've seen.
I've heard it 1,000 times before, and it's just not that funny anymore.